Hi everyone, this is Stjepan. I'll finish the coverage of round 10 of the candidates tournament with a super instructional battle in the Open Catalan played between the current leader and number 2 on the scoreboard, Fabiano Caruana and Shakhriyar Mamedyarov. Mamedyarov had the white pieces in this game and he opened with pawn to d4. We have knight to f6 by Caruana, c4, e6, knight to f3, d5 and g3. Once again the Catalan opening, and Caruana captures with d takes c4 and they have now entered the Open Catalan. Bishop to g2 by Mamedyarov, the thematic fianchettoed bishop in the Catalan, knight to c6, castles kingside, and rook to b8. And this is all common theory so far, and the most common moves by far in this position for white are either knight to c3, a4 advancing on the queen side, or bishop to e3, but Mamedyarov deviates immediately with a slightly inaccurate but very solid e3. And this move immediately gives Caruana a slight advantage, but perhaps the plan was to get him out of his preparation, which I guess Mamedyarov must have accomplished with e3. And now white still isn't going for recapturing with c4, which was a temporary pawn sacrifice, but it will become more important as they approach the middle game. So Caruana now plays bishop to e7, knight f to d2 attacking c4, e5, striking in the center. A very energetic move by Caruana, but allowing Mamedyarov to destroy his queenside and triple his pawns with bishop takes c6. We have b takes c6, d takes c5 in this position, knight to g4, and knight takes c4, defending e5 and finally regaining material equality. And all of these 11 moves have been played before, and it's a variation which was played numerous times at top level, and it just goes to show how well analyzed the Catalan opening actually is. Caruana chases the knight away with bishop to e6, Mamedyarov doesn't retreat, he defends and develops at the same time with knight b to d2, defending instead of retreating, and now white finally managed to regain his opening advantage and his stance is slightly better in this position. He has worse development, but his pawn structure more than compensates for that, and as more pieces get exchanged off and the initiative becomes less important of a factor, his advantage will gradually increase, because the pawn structure will definitely influence how white will have to play and how he will be able to exploit black's weaknesses. We have h5 by Caruana in this position and f3. And in this position, Caruana actually made a mistake. The move he played seems a lot more natural than what he should have played. The best move here was the unbelievable h4 actually, just sacrificing the knight. And after f takes g4, h takes g4, g3, I'm sorry, h takes g3, queen to d3, now attacking e6 and the knight on c4, double attacking actually because the e6 bishop is attacking the knight as well. And after queen to f3, bishop to d5, gaining a tempo on the queen, e4, bishop to c5 check, king to g2, and now finally regaining his piece with bishop takes c4, knight takes c4 and queen takes. And black would actually be winning in this position, but the variation is definitely too complex for any human to be able to spot and let alone calculate correctly until the end, so Caruana played the natural but very weakening move indeed. After f3, he played queen to d3 immediately, which looks dangerous, but it's far inferior to h4. Of course, after f takes g4, black is again able to play bishop takes c4 and regain the piece, but the position in which it results is definitely much worse for black than the variation after h4. So after f takes g4, bishop takes c4, knight takes, queen takes, and g takes h5. And in this position, Mamedyarov is actually 2 pawns up, and it's not the most useful pawns in the world and not pawns which are easy to hold, but it will still take Caruana several moves just to recapture them, so white is definitely better here. And the game continues with queen to e6, attacking e5, queen to f3, rook to b5, attacking e5 twice now, and queen to f5. A slight inaccuracy by Mamedyarov, as he shouldn't have gone for a queen exchange. Better was to finally develop the queen side, the bishop and the rook on a1, but practically speaking and from a human perspective, Caruana did seem to be building a dangerous attack, so trading queens must have seemed like the safest option for Mamedyarov. And Caruana reacts with rook takes e5, of course not taking the queens off immediately, queen takes e6, rook takes e6, and rook to f5, defending h5. Rook to d6 now by Caruana, threatening rook to d1 check, but it's not such a big threat, because in the worst case Mamedyarov could play b3 and bishop b2, so the pin on the rook wouldn't be that devastating as the bishop would be defending it. But he plays king to g2, at least preventing rook d1 from being a check. Rook d1 by Caruana, and now b3, g6, rook to e5, he had to move because the rook was attacked, c5, h takes g6, f takes e4, pushing his pawn a bit forward, rook h7, defending e7 as Mamedyarov was now actually threatening rook takes e7, and after king takes, bishop to g5, checking the king and taking the d1 rook, which would result in a winning endgame for white a pawn up. h4, now expanding on the king side, rook to f7, king h3, rook f1, and with this maneuver Mamedyarov had allowed Caruana to attack his bishop twice, and he is now forced to give up the exchange, as the bishop will inevitably fall if he doesn't, and there is no way to defend. But he did this deliberately, so he plays bishop to g5 in this position, double attacking the bishop on e7, and Caruana of course captures the rook, rook takes a1, rook takes c7 check, king to f8, retreating, rook takes c7, now 2 pawns up, rook takes a2, bishop to e7 check, king to g8, and rook to c8 check, king g7, bishop takes c5. And materially the position is actually equal, because Mamedyarov has 2 pawns for the exchange, but if anyone can win this position then it's only white, because he has a passed pawn, and as the game approaches, as the pawn approaches the 8th rank, the bishop becomes almost as useful as the rook, as it's able to hurt the pawn and definitely to defend it and cement itself on the board, let's say on the 7th or on the 6th rank. So definitely more dangerous for black than it is for white, and I'm not sure that black can win at all in this position. We have rook to e2, e5, and Caruana of course can't take on e5 in this position, because after rook e5 just bishop to d4, pinning the rook and winning the game. So after e5 we have rook to d1, rook e8, rook to d5 attacking the bishop, bishop to d6, and note that in this position taking the bishop with rook to d6, even though it might seem tempting, actually doesn't win a piece, it doesn't win the rook on e8, because after rook to d6 Mamedyarov could interpose the crushing rook to e7 check, and after king to f8 just e takes d6, defending the rook and completely winning. But of course after rook takes d6, if he does play e takes d6, then rook takes e8 and black is just winning a piece. So after bishop to d6, of course Caruana didn't go for those variations, he didn't take, he played rook to e3, we have rook e7 check, king to g8, rook e8 check, and Mamedyarov is already going for a draw because he sees that the position is completely equal, king f7, rook e7 check, king to g8, and now b4. He decided that he can push on for a bit longer because he's the only side who can win, so if there's no risk of losing, why not? Rook d to d3, and this is perhaps why Mamedyarov was thinking of going for a draw, because he's now forced to give up the g3 pawn, because the g3 pawn is attacked twice now, and white of course can't play e6 defending with the bishop, because Caruana would just grab the bishop with rook takes d6. So he plays, we could say, the lesser evil move. He plays king to g4, at least creating a path for his king up the board when the check occurs. Rook takes g3, king to f4, rook gf3, king e4, rook f e3, king f4, a bit of checking and repetition, rook f3 check, king g5, rook f7, and now e6 by Mamedyarov, and the position becomes interesting actually, because now Mamedyarov is attacking the rook, but he is giving away his bishop on d6, and the game continues with rook to d5 check, interposing an important check, but actually forcing Mamedyarov's king to a more dangerous square. He takes on g6, now rook takes d6, grabbing the bishop, rook takes f7, and of course king can't recapture, so rook takes e6, rook f6, rook e4, and this is now a known theoretical draw, a position in which there is no way for white to materialize on his extra pawn, as it's the h-pawn, and black can easily stop it, especially since his king is already close, and the queenside pawns will soon inevitably be exchanged off, so it's just completely drawn. And even if Mamedyarov didn't have an extra h-pawn, even if it was, let's say, a d-pawn, then it would still probably be a draw, but there would be a chance to win at least. b5 in this position, rook takes h4, rook a6, rook h7, b6, rook g7 check, king h6, rook h7 check, king g5. A bit of pointless moves, as both players must be aware that it's a draw. King f5, a takes b, rook takes b, rook f7 check, and now they even play it until the end, until there are nothing but kings on the board. Rook f6, rook takes, king takes, and the draw. And it's actually nice of them to play the position until the end, until there is nothing but kings. And I must say that even though this game ended in a draw, both players have shown that they are leading the tournament for a very good reason. Their chess is amazingly good this tournament, and both have shown that they're not afraid and that they definitely have something to show, and that they're both worthy opponents for Magnus Carlsen should they be lucky enough to win and play this well in the remaining 4 rounds. And I must say they definitely stand a chance with this kind of chess. It was a very interesting and instructional Catalan, and the middle game transition was quite unique as well, and I think it could definitely provide great ideas for any Catalan players with both white and with black who are defending against the Catalan. And it's definitely one of the games to study from the tournament, because there were already I think 10 or 11 Catalan positions played, and I think this is the most instructional one so far. Okay everyone, thanks very much for watching, and see you soon with more chess analysis. Cheers, bye!